thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us this afternoon. What a pleasure to see you. And first of all, congrats on Let's Talk Off Camera. It's so cool for fans to get to hear you really sink into these long form, in-depth conversations. With all your experience interviewing celebrities on TV and in the daytime space, how liberating or intimidating has it been to have this platform to speak so freely and for such an extended amount of time?
Well, firstly, thank you for having me. And I have to tell you that it is very liberating. It's not intimidating at all, because I found through my experience working at the talk show that the best conversations I've always had happen off camera. And I would say time and again to all of my producers, oh my gosh, why wasn't that on camera? And people are just more willing and open and free without the eye of the camera. I think audiences can be intimidating to people. And don't forget, when you're hosting a talk show, your max segment maybe is 6 minutes long. So it doesn't really lend itself to the freedom of having honest discussions about important topics. And typically we don't really plan out what we're going to say. We have like an idea of where we might go, but I have to tell you, we have not hit a single talk point yet in any of the podcasts, because we just wind up having very deep, moving, funny, honest conversations because the format allows it.
Yeah, that's so great. And we only have 10 minutes here, and there's so much I want to ask you, so I can relate to that. So I have to ask, who's your dream guest and who's surprised you the most so far?
Oh my gosh. Dream guest. I have to tell you, we've been very blessed in our guest column. Every person that we've wanted, we have somehow by miracles gotten. The lone holdout being Madonna, but I'm still hopeful every day that when she's off that tour, maybe she'll come on our humble podcast, because there's nothing not to like about it. You can shoot it from your bathroom. You can shoot it from your bedroom. You can shoot it from the floor. We've had people laying in bed, laying on their sofa, reclining in their backyards. We've had people on dog walks. We've had people driving their cars. It's truly like wherever you have a phone or a recording device, that's where our show goes.
No, I love that.
Yeah, so that I guess would be our dream guest. And every podcast episode has been surprising. Of course, the most shocking and awe-inspiring, I think, was the Matthew McConaughey episode, where he just sort of casually mentioned that he may or may not be Woody Harrelson's biological brother.
We're still talking about that. We want to know.
No, I mean, it was a question not asked. It's always the questions not asked. It would never even occur to me to ask that question. Who would ask that? It just sort of came out of an honest discussion about how much I love them together. And I think of them as a super couple. And he told us this story about being in Greece with, Matthew and his family and Woody and his family, and Matthew's mother was there, and she sort of leaned in and told them this story about, I knew your father back in the day, Woody, and there was this sort of crossing of timelines that would lend itself. And all I know is if I don't administer the DNA test, then there is no justice in the world.
I feel like there could be a spin-off podcast just on the Matthew McConaughey, Woody Harrelson potential brother situation. Like, you've launched an entire new franchise.
Do you know what? You and I should host that podcast.
I'm here for that. I will hold you to that. We'll get back to that. So fans obviously love how you and Mark always keep it real with your family life, how involved the kids are. I was listening to your recent episode with Nia Long, who I believe was wrapped in a blanket, as you mentioned, keeping it very casual. You mentioned that Lola wants to join the podcast. So where are we with that?
So we have booked Lola. Lola is very funny. She's our most demanding guest to date, because she has demanded that only she gets to ask the questions. But I think that I'm pretty good at turning the tables. So she may think that she'll be asking the questions, but I'll get the information out of her for sure.
Yeah, we'll let her believe that and then
Yeah,
have the conversation unfold, as you mentioned. Congrats on
exactly.
her recent college graduation, by the way. You now have two NYU alums, and they're both exploring the industry, Lola and Michael. But meanwhile, we've got Joaquin wrestling at Michigan. So you have this
Yes.
lone athlete in the family.
Well, believe it or not, all of my kids were athletes, but Joaquin is the one that, got recruited by a D1 school for it. So they're all really well-rounded kids. And Joaquin, unlike Michael was at the film and TV department at NYU, and he is putting his education to good use. Lola's was in the music department,
Mhm.
and she's putting her education to good use. But Joaquin is the one, he's actually in the drama department at Michigan. So
Oh, cool.
he's a wrestler, but he's actually studying acting. So what was so funny is Mark and I, much like our parents were very discouraging of our kids going into show business, but for some reason it just appealed to them. I don't made it look particularly fun, but for some reason they just had a calling and they are following their individual passions for sure.
Well, love that. It's in the DNA for sure. And we'd asked you a few months back about how the newly empty nest was going, and you were positively glowing about it. Love that for you. Are we still in
Yes.
that era, or do we miss having the kids at home yet?
Let me tell you something. Look around you. This is my son's Michael's former bedroom.
Former being the operative word here.
Former bedroom, yes, which is why there's still a bed here. But we've turned it into a podcast studio, which is great. Where would I do this show? We still get to see the kids plenty. And so I would say we would have like more pain if it was suddenly we never got to see them again. But now that they're adults and they have the freedom, Joaquin, of course, is a little bit more challenging because he lives in Michigan most of the year. So, when we get to see him, it's for, limited periods of time. But Lola and Michael are both primarily New York based. So I get to see them quite a bit, when they're not working or on the weekends.
Yeah.
So it's nice.
Not too far away.
Not too far away. Right.
So you and Mark just reminisced about Pat Sajak on Live, told an amazing story. It's really the end of an era with him leaving Wheel. Ryan Seacrest, your friend, is already in the ether as a possible replacement. Are you here for that? Or who could you see filling such a legendary
He's
spot?
perfect for that.
I was going to say present company included if you want to throw your hat in the ring.
Oh, no, that's okay. I have got enough. I have got my hands full as it is. That to me makes perfect sense. That is, I could see him sliding in there. Plus, it's a really good shooting schedule, right? So I think that they shoot all of their shows pretty much. I don't know the shooting schedule. Pat told me once and I couldn't believe it. I was like, that's a dream job. So I think that would make perfect sense.
Well, I love that so much. And before we let you go, Mark recently admitted that he got Scandoval advice from Lola ahead of talking about it on air. Did you need an explainer on this or any other pop culture topic? Who's got their finger on the pulse more with these things, more without help from the kids, you or Mark?
We had never heard of Scandoval. We discovered Scandoval when our daughter was flying home from London. And she too had not heard of Scandoval, but she was, I guess, flipping, on the airplane, they have the TV that you can watch. So she just got sucked into the Scandoval and she said, you have to watch this. So we watched it and we weighed in the next day on the air as total non-experts. And then our daughter said, you have to be careful what you say because you're misrepresenting the entire franchise, and we were like,
people are taking this very seriously still.
Yeah, so. They are taking it seriously, which, listen, these are people's lives and I don't mean to trivialize their lives at all, but, it's something we watched, it was fascinating, but we certainly can't relate to it because, Andy was on the show not too long ago on the podcast and and he and I both kept referring to them as kids. And then you're like, kids, I had 3 children in high school at that age Sandoval is. You know, I'm not the expert, clearly, because I thought his name was Scandoval.
Well, at this point, it pretty much is. So thank you so
Right.
much for taking the time. I really appreciate the chance to get to talk with you. We cannot wait to see what happens on Let's Talk Off Camera. And we're rooting for Madonna to come on. Anybody who wants to join, but Madonna, we're putting it out there. We're manifesting
I'll
for you.
let you know when it happens.
Please do.